All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're doing a deep dive on something that can be a little bit intimidating, car insurance for new drivers.
Yeah, it can definitely feel like a bit of a black box, especially when you're just starting out.
You've got all these confusing terms, and then there are those sky-high prices everyone talks about.
But that's exactly why we're here.
We're going to break it all down, so by the end of this, you'll be navigating the world of insurance like a total pro.
We're going to cover everything you need to know.
From the different types of coverage to some really clever strategies for getting the best possible rates.
And we've got a ton of expert advice and insights to share.
Seriously, I'm looking at this stack of research, and I'm already seeing some fascinating things.
So are you ready to dive in and decode car insurance together?
I am. Let's do it.
Okay.
First things
Yep.
first, let's break down the types of car insurance coverage that every new driver or anyone helping a new driver should know.
Right.
So what's the absolute must-have, non-negotiable type?
Well, that would be liability insurance.
Like,
Yeah, it's mandatory in most places and for good reason.
Okay.
It basically acts as a safety net if you're at fault in an accident that causes damage to someone else's property or even worse, injures someone.
got it.
So you can think of it as protecting others from the financial fallout if you're the one responsible for an accident.
So liability insurance is all about taking responsibility,
Right.
making sure that if something happens, the other party is taken care of.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But what about protecting your own car?
Good question.
Like, if I'm the one who ends up with a dented bumper, what
Yeah.
then?
That's where collision and comprehensive coverage come in.
Okay, collision and comprehensive.
Yeah, collision coverage is specifically for those at-fault accidents where your car is damaged.
So, like, if I misjudge a turn and scrape against a curb, or worse, get into a fender bender.
Exactly. Collision coverage would help pay for the repairs to your car.
Got it.
Now, comprehensive coverage is kind of like that extra layer of protection
Okay.
for those unexpected situations that aren't collision related. Like think theft, fire, vandalism,
Oh, right.
hail damage from a crazy storm, or even hitting a deer on a dark road.
Wow. I hadn't thought about the deer thing.
It happens more often than you think.
So comprehensive coverage is like your shield against those wild card events in life.
Exactly. It protects you from those unexpected twists and turns.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I want to touch on something we hear a lot, young driver versus new driver.
Yes.
Are those really the same thing?
That's a great question, and it's an important distinction.
Okay.
So, young driver typically refers to those in the 16 to 24 age range.
Okay.
But new driver can actually include anyone who's relatively inexperienced behind the wheel, regardless of their age.
Oh, interesting.
So you could be a 30-year-old who's finally getting their license.
Right.
And you'd still be considered a new driver from an insurance perspective.
Huh, that makes sense. And how do insurance companies assess risk differently for these two groups?
Well, with young drivers, it's mostly about age
Uh-huh.
and the statistical likelihood of accidents.
Uh,
But for new drivers who are older,
yeah.
their age might not be as big of a factor,
Okay.
but that lack of a solid driving history still puts them in a higher risk category.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so whether you're young or just new to driving,
Yeah.
that lack of experience translates to higher risk for insurers.
It's like starting any new job, right?
Yeah.
You might have the skills, but you haven't quite built up that track record yet.
Exactly. It's all about building up that driving history and showing insurance companies that you're a responsible driver.
Right. So speaking of risk, let's talk about what actually goes into determining those car insurance premiums.
Okay.
What are the factors they're looking at when they calculate how much you'll pay?
Sure.
Because I think we've all heard those stories about how expensive it can be for new drivers.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious to understand why those rates tend to be higher.
Well, the inexperience factor we just talked about definitely plays a big role.
Right.
Statistically, younger drivers, particularly young men, have higher accident rates.
Yeah, I've seen those statistics, and they usually mention things like inexperience, maybe a bit more impulsiveness behind the wheel, and sometimes even things like driving under the influence.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true.
It's sad.
But it's not just about age and experience. Where you live also matters a lot.
Right.
Big cities with more traffic and higher crime rates tend to have higher premiums compared to rural areas.
Right. More cars, more people, more potential for things to happen.
Exactly.
I also know the type of car you drive matters.
Oh, absolutely.
Like a brand new sports car is going to cost more to insure than a reliable used sedan.
Yay, got it. Newer, more expensive cars are simply more costly to repair or replace.
Right.
And if you choose a car that's statistically more likely to be stolen or involved in an accident,
Yeah.
well, your insurance rates will reflect that.
So that dream sports car might come with a hefty insurance reality check.
Yeah, It's all about those trade-offs.
Right, and it's not just the car itself, it's also how you use it.
Absolutely. Someone who has a long daily commute is going to rack up more miles and face more potential risks than someone who only drives occasionally.
So driving frequency is another factor in the equation.
Exactly.
So it seems like insurance companies are taking a pretty comprehensive view.
Right.
When calculating premiums, they're looking at everything from demographics and location
Uh-huh.
to driving history, vehicle type, and even how much time you spend on the road.
It's all about getting a full picture of your risk profile.
Right. That makes sense. Now, let's say you're a parent and your teenager has finally gotten their driver's license.
Okay.
What are the key things to keep in mind when it comes to insuring them?
Well, the first thing to understand is the distinction between a learner's permit and a full license.
No.
When your child has a permit, they're usually only allowed to drive with a licensed adult in the car.
Right.
So in those cases, they're covered under the accompanying driver's insurance,
Oh, so no need to change anything on the policy yet.
as long as they're following those permit restrictions exactly.
Got it. But once they have that full license, that's when things get a little more complicated.
Exactly. If they're getting their own car,
Yeah.
they'll need their own separate policy.
Okay.
But if they'll be driving a car that's already on your policy,
Yeah.
you'll need to add them as a driver.
Okay, and that leads us to the big question. Should they be added as a primary driver, meaning they're the main user of the car, or as an occasional driver if they'll only be using it every now and then?
That's a big decision.
I bet that has a big impact on the cost, right?
Absolutely. Adding a young driver as a primary driver usually results in a much more significant jump in your premiums compared to listing them as an occasional driver.
So that's where that honesty and transparency with your insurer is crucial,
It's super important.
because driving without being properly listed on the policy can lead to huge problems if there's an accident.
Oh, yeah. It could even void your coverage.
Ah.
So it's crucial to be upfront with your insurer and make sure everyone who drives your vehicles is listed on the policy correctly.
Honesty is the best policy, right?
Literally and figuratively.
Now, I know a lot of new drivers, especially young ones, are eager to find ways to save money on car insurance
Of course.
because it could be such a big expense.
it can.
What are some of the top tips you've come across in our research?
Sure.
What can new drivers do to lower those costs?
Well, one of the most common pieces of advice is to choose a less risky car.
Okay.
Opting for a car that's less likely to be stolen or involved in an accident can often lead to lower premiums.
So it's not always about getting the flashiest or most expensive car.
Right.
Sometimes practicality wins out when it comes to insurance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between what you want in a car and what your budget allows for.
Including those insurance costs, right?
Absolutely.
What about drivers' training courses?
Yeah.
Do those actually make a difference?
They can. Many insurance companies offer discounts to drivers who've completed an accredited program because it shows them that you've invested in learning safe driving practices.
Right.
And that translates to lower risk in their eyes.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah,
You become a better driver and you potentially save money.
exactly.
What about bundling different types of insurance?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Many insurers offer discounts if you bundle your car insurance with other types like home or renter's insurance.
So it's a convenient way to manage everything and often leads to savings.
Exactly.
Okay. And of course, one of the most impactful ways to lower costs over time is to maintain a clean driving record.
Absolutely. No speeding tickets, no accidents, no drama.
It's like building good credit, but for driving.
Exactly. It demonstrates responsibility and helps you build a positive history, which can lead to lower premiums down the road.
Speaking of financial strategies, one source mentioned opting for a higher deductible as a way to save on those monthly premiums.
Yes.
Can you explain how that works?
Sure. Your deductible is the amount you agree to pay out of pocket before your insurance coverage kicks in if you need to make a claim.
Right.
So if you choose a higher deductible, let's say $1,000 instead of $500,
Yeah.
your monthly premiums will typically be lower because you're taking on more of the initial risk.
So it's a bit of a balancing act.
It is.
You might save money each month,
Yeah.
but if you do have an accident, you'll be paying more out of pocket before the insurance kicks in.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between potential savings and your financial comfort level.
Got it. What about those telematics programs I've been hearing about?
Oh, those are interesting.
Do they actually help new drivers save money, or is it all hype?
They can be a great way for safe drivers to save.
Okay.
They basically use technology to monitor your driving habits.
Oh, wow.
This often involves a little device that plugs into your car or an app on your smartphone,
Mm-hmm.
and it tracks things like your speed, braking mileage, even the time of day you're driving.
So it's like having a virtual driving instructor in the car with you.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And if the data shows that you're a safe and responsible driver,
Yeah.
you can often qualify for discounts on your premiums.
So it's like a reward system for good driving.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool that technology is being used to personalize insurance rates based on actual driving behavior.
Right.
Great.
Right.
But with all these different options and strategies for saving money, it can still feel pretty overwhelming,
Oh, absolutely.
especially for someone who's brand new to all of this.
For sure. And that's why one of the sources we looked at really recommends using an insurance broker.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I've always wondered what an insurance broker actually does.
Sure.
And whether it's worth it.
Okay.
What are the benefits of working with a broker?
Well, for starters, insurance brokers are experts in this field.
Okay.
They can help you understand all those complex terms and conditions,
Right.
compare quotes from different companies,
Yeah.
and find the best coverage for your needs and budget.
So they do all that legwork for you.
Exactly.
And they're making sure you're not overpaying for coverage you don't need.
All right.
It sounds like a huge time saver.
It can.
And because they work with a lot of different insurers, I'm guessing they have access to discounts and deals that you might not find on your own.
They often do.
It's like having a personal shopper, but for car insurance.
I like that.
So for new drivers who might be intimidated by the whole process, having a broker on your side can be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. They can answer your questions, guide you through the paperwork, and make sure you feel confident in your choices.
It's like having a mentor to help you through the insurance maze.
That's a great way to put it.
We talked about choosing the right coverage
Right.
and finding ways to save money.
Mm-hmm.
But let's face it, accidents happen.
They do.
Even the safest driver can find themselves in a situation where something goes wrong.
Absolutely. No matter how careful you are, there's always that chance.
So what are those essential steps new drivers should take if they find themselves in that situation?
Okay.
What do they need to know to handle it properly?
The most important thing is to stay calm.
Okay.
Remember, safety is paramount.
Good.
So if the accident is serious, call 911 immediately.
Right.
Then if it's safe to do so, move your vehicle to the side of the road.
Okay.
Get out of the way of traffic.
Out of harm's way first.
Exactly. And then if possible, you should exchange information with the other driver involved.
Right.
Get their name, contact information, insurance details,
Okay.
and make sure to provide yours as well.
Makes sense.
And here's a crucial tip from the research we did.
Okay.
Document everything.
Like take pictures of the damage, the scene, everything.
Exactly. The more evidence you gather at the scene, the better.
Okay.
You'll be prepared when dealing with insurance claims and potential legal matters.
So it's like building a case file.
Right. Thorough documentation can make a big difference.
And of course, if anyone is injured,
Yes.
seeking medical attention comes first.
Absolutely. Health and well-being are the top priority.
Okay, and then once you've taken care of those immediate concerns, it's important to report the accident to your insurance company as soon as possible.
Yes, delaying that can sometimes cause complications with your claim.
Right, so promptness is key.
It is. And remember, even if the accident wasn't your fault,
Yeah.
it's still essential to report it to your insurer.
Right, it protects you in case the other driver tries to dispute things.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
all about covering your bases and making sure you're protected.
I feel like we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
We've talked about types of coverage factors that influence cost-saving strategies, what to do in case of an accident,
Right.
and even the role of an insurance broker.
It's in a lot.
But before we move on, I want to touch on one more aspect of car insurance that I think often gets overlooked.
Okay.
The psychological side of things.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because having car insurance isn't just about financial protection.
Right.
It's also about peace of mind.
You're right. It's like having that safety net
Yeah.
that lets you relax and enjoy driving.
Without constantly worrying about what if.
Exactly. It's about knowing you're prepared for the unexpected, which can really boost your confidence on the road.
And when you zoom out and look at the big picture,
Yeah.
it ties into that whole concept of being a responsible driver.
It does. That's a great point.
So what does it really mean to be a responsible driver in today's world?
That's a big question.
Is it just about following the rules of the road, or is there more to it than that?
I think it's definitely about more than just obeying traffic laws. It's about being aware of your surroundings, making conscious choices behind the wheel, and understanding that your actions have consequences.
And those consequences can impact not only you, but other people on the road too.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that driving is a privilege, not a right.
Right.
And with that privilege comes a responsibility to operate a vehicle safely and with consideration for others, It's
Yeah.
about creating a culture of safety and respect on the roads. And I think having car insurance is one way to show that commitment.
It shows you're taking responsibility and that you're prepared to handle those consequences. It's like that saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Right.
Having car insurance is part of that preparation.
It is.
Now, we've talked about the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're protected.
Yeah.
But let's be real, nobody wants to pay more than they have to for car insurance.
True.
So are there any other clever strategies or secrets out there that can help new drivers save even more?
Absolutely. We've covered some of the basics, like
Yeah.
choosing a less risky car,
Uh-huh.
taking a driver's training course,
Yeah.
maintaining a good driving record.
Right.
But there are a few more interesting things to consider.
Okay, I'm listening.
For example, did you know some insurance companies offer discounts for good students?
Seriously?
Yeah, if you have a high GPA, make sure to ask your insurer about good student discounts.
Wow. So those good grades can actually pay off in more ways than one.
That's right.
That's fantastic. And speaking of leveraging technology, we talked about telematics programs earlier.
Yeah.
But it's worth emphasizing how much of a game changer those can be for new drivers.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are curious about how they work and whether they're actually worth it.
They definitely can be.
Okay.
Remember, these programs track your driving habits.
Uh-huh.
So if you're braking smoothly, accelerating responsibly, not speeding,
Yeah.
you can often get rewarded with lower premiums.
It's almost like a personalized discount based on your individual driving style.
Exactly.
It's like gamifying safe driving,
It is.
which makes it more fun and gives you an incentive to do it well.
That's right.
It's a great way for new drivers to demonstrate their responsibility
Yes,
and potentially offset some of those higher costs that come with being inexperienced.
exactly.
Any other insider tips or hidden gems that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, here's one that people often overlook.
Okay.
Think about how you pay your premiums.
Okay.
Some insurance companies offer discounts if you pay annually instead of monthly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it might require a bit more planning, but it can be a smart way to save in the long run.
So if you can swing paying for the whole year up front, you could actually save money.
That's right.
Okay, mental note check if my insurance company offers that.
Yeah, it's worth looking into.
You never know where you'll find those savings. Now, we talked earlier about the benefits of using an insurance broker.
Right.
But let's say someone is determined to do all the research and comparison shopping themselves.
Okay.
What are some key things they should keep in mind?
All right.
What are the red flags and how can they make sure they're getting a good deal?
It's definitely possible to do it yourself,
Okay,
but you have to be diligent and ask the right questions.
got it.
One of the first things to remember is that the cheapest policy isn't necessarily the best policy.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's important to strike a balance between affordability and coverage.
Right, so don't just jump at the lowest price without understanding what you're getting.
Exactly.
Right.
Make sure you're comparing apples to apples when you're looking at different quotes.
Got it.
Are the coverage limits the same?
Right.
Are the deductibles comparable? These are all crucial factors to consider.
It's like shopping for anything else.
It is.
You don't just grab the first thing on the shelf.
Right.
You look at the features,
Right.
the quality.
You got to make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What else should people watch out for?
Pay close attention to the fine print.
Oh, yeah,
Insurance policies can be full of jargon.
for sure.
Don't be afraid to ask for clarification on anything you don't understand.
So a good insurer should be willing to explain things clearly.
Absolutely. And answer all your questions patiently.
It's your money and your protection.
It is.
So advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
Make sure you understand what you're signing up for.
For sure.
Any other red flags?
Be wary of any insurer that pressures you into a quick decision
Okay,
or tries to downplay the importance of certain types of coverage.
got it.
Take your time. Do your research.
Yeah.
Choose an insurer that you feel comfortable and confident with.
It's like any big decision. If something feels off,
Mm-hmm.
trust your gut. Now, we talked about what to do in case of an accident,
Right.
but what happens after you've reported it to your insurance company? What's that whole claims process like?
That's a great question because it can be a bit mysterious for those who haven't gone through it before.
Okay,
So once you've reported the accident, your insurance company will assign a claims adjuster to your case.
a claims adjuster.
Yeah.
What do they
Like-
do?
The claims adjuster is basically the investigator.
Okay.
They'll gather information about the accident,
Uh-huh.
review the police reports,
Okay.
assess the damage,
Yeah.
interview any witnesses.
So they're like the detective on the case.
It's
They're
true.
piecing together all the details
Right.
and trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah. And who was at fault.
And based on their investigation,
Yes.
they determine how much the insurance company will pay out.
Exactly, for repairs or medical expenses.
So this is where all that documentation we talked about earlier really comes in handy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The photos, the witness statements, all of that can help support your side of the story.
It's like that saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, but in this case, it could be worth thousands of dollars.
Exactly. What else should people know about interacting with the claims adjuster?
Be honest and upfront.
Go.
Provide accurate information
Yeah.
and cooperate fully with the investigation.
So no embellishing or downplaying your role, just stick to the facts.
Exactly. Transparency and honesty are super important throughout the process.
Got it. It seems like we've covered so much today.
We have
But there's always more to learn about car insurance,
always.
especially with new technologies and options coming out all the time.
Right. The landscape is constantly evolving.
It is. But I guess the fundamental principles of protecting yourself and driving responsibly, those stay the same.
Those are the constants, for sure.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into car insurance for new drivers, what's one final thought-provoking question our listeners can ponder as they hit the road?
Oh, that's a good one. We've talked about the financial and legal aspects of car insurance,
Yeah.
but I think the most important question is, what does it mean to be a truly responsible driver in today's world?
It goes beyond just having insurance and following traffic laws, right?
It does. It's about recognizing that we're all sharing the road
Yeah.
and that our actions behind the wheel can have a ripple effect on others.
It's about making conscious choices every time you get in the car,
Absolutely.
being aware of your surroundings, respecting other drivers and pedestrians, and driving defensively to avoid potential hazards.
It's about understanding that driving is a privilege. And with that privilege comes a responsibility to prioritize safety.
For yourself and everyone around you.
Well said. And if more people approached driving with that mindset, the roads would be a much safer and more enjoyable place for everyone.
Absolutely. So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
whether you're a brand new driver navigating this for the first time,
Right.
or someone who's been on the road for a while, I hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights
I hope so.
and maybe even spark some new perspectives on car insurance and responsible driving.
That would be great.
It's been a pleasure unpacking all of this with you,
Likewise.
and I definitely encourage our listeners to keep exploring and learning.
Yes, there's always more to discover about car insurance
Yeah.
and ways to stay safe.
And remember, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or have specific questions about your own insurance needs,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to reach out to an insurance broker.
Great advice.
They could be a fantastic resource
They can.
to help you navigate all the complexities
Absolutely.
and find the best coverage for your individual circumstances.
Couldn't agree more. They're the experts who can guide you.
So as you embark on your driving journey, remember,
Yes.
knowledge is your best co-pilot.
Uh,
Responsible driving is your ultimate destination.
Very well said.
Stay safe out there, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone. It's about creating a culture of safety and respect on the roads. And having car insurance is a tangible way to demonstrate your commitment to that. It shows you're taking responsibility for your actions, and you're prepared to handle the financial consequences if something unexpected happens.
It's like that saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Having car insurance is part of that preparation, both for yourself and for others.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're protected. But let's be honest, no one wants to pay more than they have to for car insurance. Are there any other clever strategies or secrets out there that can help new drivers save even more?
Absolutely. We've covered some of the basics, like choosing a less risky car, taking a driver's training course, maintaining a good driving record.
Right.
But there are a few more interesting tactics to consider. For example, did you know that some insurance companies offer discounts for good students?
Whoa, really?
It's true. If you're a student with a high GPA, make sure to ask your insurer about any good student discounts they might offer. It's a great way to leverage your academic success. And speaking of leveraging technology, we touched on telematics programs earlier. But it's worth emphasizing how much of a game changer they can be for new drivers.
Yes, let's dive a little deeper into that because I think a lot of people are curious about how these programs work and whether they're actually worth it.
They definitely can be. Remember, these programs use technology to track your driving habits. So if the data shows you're braking smoothly, accelerating responsibly, and not speeding, you're likely to be rewarded with lower insurance premiums. It's almost like having a personalized discount based on your individual driving style.
It's like gamifying safe driving,
It is.
which makes it more fun and gives you a tangible incentive to be a better driver, What's not to love?
Exactly. And it's a great way for new drivers to demonstrate their responsibility and potentially offset some of those higher costs that often come with being inexperienced.
It's like they're saying, show us you're a safe driver, and we'll reward you with lower rates. I love that approach. Any other insider tips or hidden gems we haven't uncovered yet?
Well, here's one that often gets overlooked. Think about how you pay your premiums. Some insurance companies offer discounts if you pay annually instead of monthly.
Really?
It's true, it might require a bit more planning and budgeting, but it can be a smart way to trim those insurance costs.
Okay, mental note check. If my insurance company offers that annual payment discount, you never know where you'll find those little savings. Now, we talked earlier about the benefits of using an insurance broker.
Right.
But let's say someone is really determined to do all the research and comparison shopping themselves. What are some key things they should keep in mind?
That's a great question.
What are the red flags to watch out for, and how can they make sure they're getting the best possible deal?
It's definitely possible to navigate the insurance landscape on your own, but it requires being diligent and asking the right questions. One of the first things to remember is that the cheapest policy isn't necessarily the best policy. It's important to strike that balance between affordability and adequate coverage.
So don't just jump at the lowest price tag without really understanding what you're getting. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're protected but not overpaying, right?
Exactly. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples when you're looking at different quotes. Are the coverage limits the same? Are the deductibles comparable? These are all crucial factors to consider.
It's like shopping for anything else. You don't just grab the first thing off the shelf. You look at the ingredients, the features, the quality. It's about making an informed decision. What else should people watch out for?
Pay close attention to the fine print. Insurance policies are full of legal jargon and technical terms. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification on anything you don't understand. A reputable insurer should be willing to explain things in plain language and answer all your questions patiently.
It's your hard-earned money and your protection on the line. So don't be shy about advocating for yourself and making sure you fully understand what you're signing up for. Any other red flags to watch out for?
Be wary of any insurer that pressures you into making a quick decision or tries to downplay the importance of certain types of coverage. Take your time, do your research, and choose an insurer that makes you feel comfortable and confident.
It's like any important decision. If something feels off or you get a pushy vibe, it's probably best to trust your gut and move on. Now, we talked about what to do in the unfortunate event of an accident, but what happens after you've reported it to your insurance company? What's that whole claims process like?
That's a great question because it can feel a bit mysterious to those who haven't been through it before. Once you've reported the accident, your insurance company will assign a claims adjuster to your case.
Okay, so who's this claims adjuster and what do they do?
The claims adjuster is essentially the investigator for your insurance company. They'll gather information about the accident review, police reports, assess the damage to the vehicles involved, and interview any witnesses.
So they're like the detective on the case, piecing together all the details and trying to determine what happened and who was at fault.
Exactly. And based on their investigation, they'll determine the extent of your insurance company's liability and how much they'll pay out for repairs or medical expenses.
So this is where all that documentation we talked about earlier comes in handy, right? The photos, the witness statements, all that stuff can help support your side of the story.
Absolutely. Having thorough documentation can make a huge difference in the claims process. It strengthens your case and provides evidence to support your version of events.
It's like that saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but in this case, it could be worth thousands of dollars. What else should people know about interacting with the claims adjuster?
Be honest and upfront with them. Provide accurate information about the accident and cooperate fully with their investigation.
So no trying to embellish the story or downplay your role in the accident. Just stick to the facts.
Exactly. Transparency and honesty are crucial throughout the claims process.
I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today, but there's always more to learn about car insurance, especially with all the new technologies and options emerging.
You're absolutely right. The insurance landscape is constantly evolving, but the fundamental principles of protecting yourself financially and driving responsibly remain the same.
So what are some key takeaways our listeners can walk away with? What are the big aha moments they should remember?
Well, I think one of the most important takeaways is that car insurance isn't just a legal requirement, it's a crucial part of being a responsible driver.
It's about protecting yourself, your assets, and others on the road. It's about peace of mind and knowing that you're prepared for whatever twists and turns life might throw your way.
Exactly. And another key takeaway is that knowledge is power when it comes to car insurance.
The more you understand about the different types of coverage, the factors influencing costs, and the strategies for saving money, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions that fit your individual needs and budget. It's like anything else in life. The more informed you are, the better choices you can make. So as we wrap up this deep dive into car insurance for new drivers, what's that one final thought-provoking question our listeners can ponder as they hit the road?
That's a great question. We've talked about the financial and legal aspects of car insurance, but I think the most important question to ask yourself is this. What does it mean to be a truly responsible driver in today's world?
It goes beyond just having insurance and following the rules, right?
That's
It's about recognizing that we're all sharing the road
Yeah,
and that our actions behind the wheel have a ripple effect.
absolutely.
It can really impact others.
They can.
So it's about making conscious choices every time you get in the car.
Right.
Being aware of your surroundings, respecting other drivers and pedestrians, and driving defensively to avoid those potential hazards.
It's about understanding that driving is a privilege, and with that privilege comes a responsibility to prioritize safety.
For yourself and everyone else on the road.
Exactly.
Well said. I think if more people approached driving with that mindset, the roads would be a much safer and more enjoyable place for everyone.
I agree.
So to all our listeners out there, whether you're a brand new driver navigating this for the first time or someone who's been on the road for a while, I hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and maybe even sparked some new perspectives on car insurance and responsible driving.
It's been great unpacking all of this with you.
Likewise.
And I encourage all our listeners to continue exploring and learning. There's always more to discover about car insurance and ways to stay safe out there.
Absolutely.
hmm
And remember, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or have specific questions about your own insurance needs, don't hesitate to reach out to an insurance broker. They can be an incredible resource to help you navigate the complexities of car insurance and find the best coverage for your individual circumstances.
Couldn't agree more. They're the experts.
They are.
They can guide you through it all.
They can. So as you head out on your driving journey, remember, knowledge is your best co-pilot, and responsible driving is your ultimate destination. Stay safe out there, everyone. And thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.